This is the Fleming 60, and this is the first time this has been shown at a boat show. So a really interesting one to look at. Firstly, because these are just a really great boat, but secondly, a lot of detail has gone into this one. The owner of this, in conjunction with Fleming Europe, has done a really good job on speccing this out. It's a very, very high specification, and it's very thoughtfully done. So I'm going to take you on board and give you the full tour, and we are going to go into every area. And the first thing to talk about actually is the fact that it has got the California deck. And what that is, so basically this model is based on the 58, the Fleming 58. It's extended out further here, and then what you have is a raised section here which brings it up to the same height as the saloon, makes this a very sociable area, but it gives you a great working area around the outside of it, and that's what that extra length allows you. You still have the bathing platform, that's here, and we've got the doorway straight out onto that, but it means for fishing, for example, you can see we've got the rod holders here. For working the decks generally, you're not having to move your way around all the furniture that's right back in the corners. That's up here out the way. This makes a really great working deck, and you can see the fishing rods, in fact, are up there. The overhang has been extended as well for a bit more shade, and that is a nice setup. Another thing, and it's something that I wouldn't have noticed until it was pointed out, and then it became really, really obvious, is Flemings have always traditionally had the teak cappings around the outside. On this one, they've decided to go away from that and just go with this GRP moulding. It's a lot more practical, there's a lot less maintenance, and you have the option of wrapping it, of course, so you could have a teak finish there if you wanted. Obviously, if you want the traditional teak, you can still get it, but that, I think, is actually quite a smart way of doing that. Just looks a little bit more contemporary. I like that. We've got a little bar area here, so we've got the sink, we've got the fridge, and we've got a stern docking station here as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the joystick system on this when we go inside. And yeah, this is this raised up section. That works really well. Another change here, we've now got the moulded steps that come down from the Flybridge, and the advantage of this actually is it gives a really good storage space back in underneath them over on this side. That works well, and in fact you'll see here as well we've now got the clear doors that can close off here, so when you're at anchor and the wind's running down here, then that obviously acts as a windbreak. I'll take you inside first of all. We're going to do the whole boat, of course. We're going to say hi to Maggie the Baggy, chilling out in the sunshine, and then we'll head on in. It is the usual teak interior on this one. These boats are designed for serious cruising and offshore boating, so you've got things like the handrail in the ceiling there, make it easier to move around the boat. You've got the galley at the same level as this area, which works really, really well. A lot of extra storage around the place here. You've got the table that folds out, of course, and then over here, I think I'm right in saying TV that glides out of this cabinet over on this side. If we head on forward a bit, we've got the wine cooler down here, we've got the coffee machine, we've got a really nice big fridge freezer on that side, and then this owner has selected double ovens. So normally you just have the one oven and then maybe a microwave up there. This one, as I say, spec'd with the two, very much to owner specification. These little chaps here are designed to keep your pans safe if they're on there and you're cooking out at sea. Again, goes back to the sort of the long distance cruising routes of this boat. And then we've also got things like the dishwasher in there, of course, and the big sinks, and a load of storage up around in places like this, and down here and round here. But as well as all of that, there is a big pantry area here. So this one slides out like so, and that gives you a lot of extra storage. That's very nice. Ribena there at the top. I haven't had a Ribena since I was a kid. I'll tell you a story about Ribena. Ribena, when I was a kid, my mum decided she was going to save some money. I used to love Ribena, I used to drink nothing else, and she thought she'd save some money and get some generic blackcurrant juice and put it in an empty Ribena bottle. I took one sip and I said, that's not Ribena. She couldn't believe it. Anyway, moving on. Up here we have day heads up on this level, but the other thing that we have here then is the bridge. So if I come back down just to show you, you can see how this closes off. There's a door here. Again, it's proper place of business stuff. It's proper cruising stuff. You know, it isn't the sort of boat you just go out and blast 20 minutes down the coast and anchor in the bay all day. This is for going places, and this is a bridge designed for that. A couple more owner specification choices here in things like they've chosen to go for a telescopic high-low table. So you can bring that down and use that as more of a relaxing space with your feet up. You can also increase this across here. That's what these little chaps here are for. There's an infill for there. So you can have that as a pilot berth. So if you've got on somebody off watch, they want to be able to sleep, but they want to be here. So if there's any problems, a skipper, for example, wants to be able to be alerted if there's any issues, well then it allows you to sleep there. And of course with that down, it gives you a lot more space at the shoulder end of the bed. Here we've got, well, I'll show you this first of all. We've got the twin disc system for the gearboxes and the thrusters. You can see twin disc here. But beyond that, we've also got a hold system here. This allows the boat basically to be positioned, and then it controls the engines in and out of gear, and it controls the thrusters all together, and it holds the boat, both the heading and the position. So if you are waiting to go into a lock, waiting to come alongside a fuel berth, you're putting the fenders out and you don't want the boat to drift, that will hold the boat in place. And beyond that, we've also then got joystick control, which again links all this stuff together. So you can just move this to the side, the boat goes sideways, you can twist it, the boat twists, just makes it really easy to control. And that's what we saw on the aft deck with that outside control area. There is another one of those which I'll show you when we get a bit further around the boat on the outside as well. This owner's selected all Garmin all the way across here. Of course, this is all configurable. So at the minute we're on navigation, we've got radar, we've got wind instrumentation over on this one. It's a serious setup, this actually. Really nice did seat here. That is a controller that can control all of these, so you don't have to lunge forward for them the whole time. We've got depth over on this side, that's basically a fish finder. But then beyond those, so what we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Garmin screens and a bonning system down here. This is really good. So in here, this is on the menu page at the minute. And what's nice about this is if you look down here when you're cruising, you want all of these on green basically. So things like the steering pump is on red because it's not switched on. The door is open, so that's on red. So when you're out at sea, you want to make sure those are all on green. But of course, there's an awful lot more in here that you can go into. Look at this. So for example, the engine displays, you've got a choice. You can have traditional gauges, or if we go back to that one, there we go, bar graphs for all of your pressure and oil temperature and gearbox oil temperature and engine coolant, all that sort of stuff. Or you might want to choose digital display of the engines. But there's so much more in here. We can go into the fuel system from here. We can go into, what else have we got? Generator is on here, control of that. We've got CCTV, AC power, DC power, bilges, for example. So pumps, fire doors, all that kind of stuff is all configured from there. But what's interesting is whatever page you're on, you've permanently got things like the engine revs, the engine temperature, pressures, that kind of thing for each engine is always displayed along there. And of course there's alarms to go off on there as well if there's ever any issues. Let's go back to that one, and then there's a home page. There we go. That's where we came in. So very, very sophisticated system, and that controls everything on the boat, of course, all electrically. However, there is backups to all of this. So we've got down here the distribution panel, like so, but we can get behind this. Check this out. This is impressive. Look at this. So these are the switches for everything, manual switches. So you can have it on auto, and then it will be controlled through the bonning system, or you can switch it to off, or you can switch it to on. So if the bonning system failed, you still got control over everything. Everything is numbered. You can see there's numbers on there. You can run that against a checklist, say, okay, we need that on, we need that off, the bonning system's failed. We can still control everything. That's really, really smart. And in fact, just to really take it to the nth degree, it's worth mentioning that that bonning system, which has its own controller for everything, there's a second bonning system on the Flybridge, and that has its own controller. They don't use the same controller. So you've actually got two independent bonning systems. You've also got over here steering backup. So if your steering system failed, you've got a backup for that, and in fact then the autopilot runs separately of that as well. So you have 3 separate steering systems effectively. Scan strut charger, drop your phone on there, it'll charge up. And these are blinds, of course, that just go up to give you the to give you the view out. MAN engine instrumentation up there as well, so that's separate to all of this. There's so much backups and thoughts and ideas and everything else gone into this. It's incredible. Really, really nice. Beautifully done. We've got side doors on both sides. We've got access direct up to the Flybridge. We'll go that way in a minute, but I'll take you down first of all. Here we go. This is interesting because this sort of thing is giving access to engineering spaces like this. There we go. So you can get behind the scenes everywhere. That's rather nice. And then if we come right on around, there's a few other interesting changes. So as standard, you have a washing machine and a dryer here behind the door. So literally you open the cupboards and they're right there. However, since they haven't yet made flat screen ones, don't know why, they encroach right into this area here. So this owner chose to get rid of those altogether, makes this cabin footprint so much bigger, gives you more storage here, gives you this area up here. It really, really improves this cabin. And that is basically a bunk cabin, that's cabin 3. So you might think, well, okay, that's great, but now I haven't got a washing machine. Well, what they've done for him is put it in here. And they've gone for a washer dryer rather than the two separate machines. So you still have your laundry facilities, but it's taking up a lot less space. As they said to me, you can only use space once. So once you've used it for something, you can't use it for something else. So that is a really good way of getting that space that's normally taken by those. Back, there is a forward cabin, another change here. I'll just show you as we're going past. This is the heads that is shared by both of these cabins. So we have, of course, the basin there, we have the separate shower, and we have the loo down here. But what's been done in here is it's had these two extra berths. So for someone with small children, this is great as a family room because you've got parents here and you've got your little kiddies up on here, everyone's together, and you haven't got people in separate cabins, you know what they're up to or whether they're wandering about or whatever else. That is a really nice idea. However, having said that, these could be removed. So if you don't want these, if this boat gets sold and they aren't required, they can be taken out. But not standard, obviously. That's just something that was an owner specification. They really do go through these with the owners when they order the boat and make sure everything is as it should be. That's bedding in there, tucked out of the way, but it's a hanging locker, as you can see. We've got storage here. We've got more storage here and more storage here. There are plenty of places to put things away. Look how these portholes have got blanking plates on them. So you've got the glass there that goes down, and then you've got this that can go down. So when you're at sea in very serious heavy conditions, you can clamp that down with that. And you know, even if the glass got broken somehow, it's still properly, completely sealed. Serious kit, this. Lovely. Let's press on back a bit further then. So we've seen those two cabins. We've seen the washing machine. That's where we came down. And this then is the owner's cabin. Look at that. Full beam of the boat. Really, really nice space. Really nice space. That is lovely. Some nice lighting about the place. We've got the ensuite, of course, over here. This is the door that just swings around. To close that one off, like so, for those of us who don't know what a door does. I talk nonsense, don't I? Mirror wave in there. We've got the sink. We've got, this is storage, of course, up in places like this. Oh, try again. There we are. Like so. This is an owner's boat, as you've probably noticed. And then we've got the loo. We've got the shower and so forth. Heated towel in behind there. Very nice. But again, a little bit of the nth degree thinking that's gone into the order and the build of this boat is this is a walk-in wardrobe. But then rather than just having the hanging rail, they spec'd it with these shelves here, with these little pigeonholes here for putting caps in and that sort of thing. And they really did try and make that as useful a space as it could possibly be. We've got the Dyson in there as well. Somebody said that's now the official mark of a super yacht. If it's got a Dyson, it's a super yacht. I'm not quite sure that's going to take over as a classification, but I can see what they're saying, because we do see those a lot on super yachts. In fact, they were saying to me earlier when I was joking about that they've got one in build at the minute. It's going to have 3 Dysons through the boat. Oh, what a life, eh? Dyson-tastic. Let's press on a bit further. That's a nice lower deck, isn't it? And that's a really nice setup. I'll take you on round, and I'm going to take you up now. I'm going to show you the Flybridge, the boat deck, then we're going to take a turn around the outside. Worth mentioning that these are over carpets here, so if we go back, most of this is solid teak that you can see around the places where it can't be, but most of it is. I wonder if I can get this up and show you what's underneath. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's the underside of that. So you can have just the teak and holly if you prefer, or you can have the over carpets as we've got here. Handy at a boat show because they're very easy to replace. All right, let's go on up and round. So we've got this stairway that'll take us up to the Flybridge. There we go. Very nice space up here. You've got lovely big dinette area, lovely outside space. There's a hardtop on this one as well. And then the helm station is up here. So we've got a repeater for the Garmin. So all the stuff that was accessible on the Garmin's down there can be accessed through there. But again, we have the bonding system. So again, you can set this up however you want. Engine instrumentation, for example, and that will all display on there. There we go. But as mentioned, that's got its own completely separate computer to the one downstairs. It's not 2 screens reading off the same machine. We've got anchor control up here. It's got stabilisation on this one, by the way. It's electric stabilisers. There we go. There's control for it there. There's another one, of course, at the bridge. So they are fin stabilisers, but they're not hydraulic. They are electric, and they can operate without the generator running, which is very helpful. We've got the double skid seat here. We've got the remote control again for the Garmin, and again, of course, we've got the throttle controls, the thruster controls, joystick control, and the hold position activation just there. Proper little ship's compass there as well. Fantastic. Very nice. Great view from here, as you'd imagine, all the way around, because we are up nice and high. Very helpful when you're cruising, very, very helpful when you're manoeuvring. There we go. If we come back a little bit further, you can see there's a crane over here that will lift this tender on and off. 60 horsepower engine on this. It's a high field tender, so it is an aluminium hull, nice and tough. And we've also got things like kayaks here and that kind of thing tucked away down underneath. I think there's one each side. Yeah, there's one over there as well. And that's a flight board there, actually. That's what that fella is. Yeah, there we go. Flight box. Excellent. There we go, decent sized tender. And a decent bit of performance on that engine. That's for sure. There's a Honda engine on there. And yeah, that crane there is the fella that will lift that on and off. And while we're pointing this way, I will show you up on the top, we've got the satellite domes. The radar is up there, of course, nav lights, GPS antennas, communications antennas, all that sort of stuff is all mounted up there. Then back here again, owner specification to have the barbecue here on the back, or the grill. I get told off for calling it a barbecue. Got the drawer fridge underneath, like so. We've got a little sink underneath that one, but also then life rafts, and these are hydrostatic releases. If this boat was to sink and you couldn't get to these life rafts fast enough, as soon as that is immersed in salt water, it will release the raft will inflate. It's right there for you. Now, of course, you can launch these manually, and that's what you would normally do, but it just means in an absolute worst case situation, no matter what, even if you couldn't get up here and get to those and the boat went down, they will always release. And there's one on both sides, one on either side is probably what I should say. There's one, you can just see the hydrostatic release over there, and they've even gone as far as to have this section here that you can take out very easy. Just pull the pin on that, and that whole bar will come out to make it easy to launch. You don't have to lift it over the rail. So much thinking gone into this one. We've got deck boxes here. These are just storage. Nice little place to sit as well, of course, but that's storage and that's storage, so it's just for canopies and whatever else you want to keep in. And there's another control station up here. This is a nice place to manoeuvre the boat from because you're really up high. When you're bringing the boat in, you can really see where you're placing it and what you're doing with it. A lot of thought. I know I keep saying it, but yeah, a lot of thought gone into this one. It's excellent. Let's head on down. I'm going to take you around the decks and then we're going to go and look at the engine space. There we go. Excellent. So, right, let's head forward. We saw the locker here. We saw these windjammer doors. Let's go on up again. You've got things like these rails here as you walk around. You're deep in the boat. This is right up to sort of thigh high, but nonetheless you've still got the rails as well. You've still got that security, and the cleats are sort of recessed back in slightly. You can see it here when you look at down the side. That cleat's not sticking right out in your way. It's recessed back in. We've got a side boarding door here alongside a dock. That's very useful. And then we can come right on forward. This will bring us up past the bridge. There's a higher level door here. If you're alongside a higher dock, that's another useful way out. That's back into the wheelhouse. There's one of these, as I mentioned, on either side. And then we can come from here forward. Portuguese bridge, there's a load of storage in there, so canopies to cover over these areas, that sort of thing. All very good. And then we can come right up onto the bow. This is nice. They've put these backrests in here now. A really lovely place to sit with your feet up, especially when you're underway. That's absolutely lovely. That's the hatch that is over that forward cabin, so that is ventilation or a way out of that space. And then we've got the cleats again mounted out of the way up here. Twin, huge stainless steel anchors on here. Look at this. Again, it speaks to the high spec that this boat is. Not just stainless steel anchors, stainless steel anchor chain. Look at that. There's some money's worth. Absolutely fantastic. They put this little dam in here so that as these are flicking round, it stops all the muck that's coming off here from running back across your decks. But there is also, beyond that, if we open this one up, we've got outlets here for fresh water and for seawater, and a short hose for hosing down your anchor chain and so forth if you want to as it comes in. Interesting fact about the seawater is it goes directly, of course, from the sea, but the seawater pump, which activates when you're running that, is on a timer, so that should you ever have a situation where a hose gives way, of course you've got a limitless amount of water. You don't want it to keep pumping forever because it would technically sink the boat. So by having a timer on it, after 20 minutes it stops, and it means that if none of this stuff is running but there is a break in the system, it's not going to flood the boat. So much thinking, so much thinking. We've got shore power coming in at this end as well. Pretty sure I'm right in saying got shore power at both ends of the boat, and you've got the anchor winch controls for each of those two winches there as well. All this stuff is super substantial and really well finished even on the inside. Look at this, the bill quarter on these is lovely. It's absolutely rock solid. Look at these. Oh, it's all so nice. In here we have the anchor chain locker, and you can see all that beautiful stainless steel chain down there. Look at that. Fantastic. And then they've put these lift up sections here, so if you want to drop stuff in here and use it, it's not getting tangled up with your chain, but you can just hinge those up to get to everything if you need to. Fantastic. There we go. Oh, bit of wind picking up all of a sudden. Can you hear it? Good. These little hooks here are for the canopies that go over these areas to keep those protected when they're not in use. And although it's not so good, you can see that's where those blinds are down over the wheelhouse windows there. And then you've got the flybridge and the hardtop and so forth. Let's carry on around a bit further. We've still got the engine room to do, and that's interesting. Isn't it interesting not having the teak on here? Because if I hadn't pointed it out, would you have noticed? I don't think you would. I don't think you miss anything for not having that. These, of course, close off the Portuguese bridge, like so. So that's acting like a sort of a, well, like a wave break. If you're going through some big weather and you're getting water rushing off of here, it's taking it off for you and down through those scuppers there, rather than sending it down the side decks. There we are. Okay, back down here. Again, you've got these side doors here at both levels. And that's where that life raft is up there. Let's head right on back now. And we'll go down and look at the mechanical spaces. Just while we're in this area, I want to show you this. Well, camera system here for a start, that's dotted around. But have a look at this, which is the system for securing the door. It's a spring-loaded system, so that when that door is slid like that, if you head out to sea and you don't secure it, and it slides because the boat's starting to roll, and it comes back like that, that's it, it's locked immediately, and exactly the same on the other door there. So you don't have those sliding around and you're up on the Flybridge not realising, wondering what that banging is. So much detail, I love it. Right, down here then is, talking of detail, this is a really nice thing. What you have on these is very much a Fleming thing, I've seen this on other ones, is you release that one there, that swings around and that does a couple of things. It secures into there. It makes sure that's absolutely rock solid. There's no way that's going to drop down on you. It also means that people walking out of here have got a rail to stop them accidentally stepping down into the wrong area. It's clever, isn't it? We will go this way. There we go, and we are down and in. And this is a glorious area. Again, it speaks very much of the serious nature of these boats. It's big, it's well lit. If we come down this end, we've got pretty much standing headroom. My head is just, I'm 6'1", my head is just touching the top there, but loads and loads and loads of space. And a lot of things to talk about down here. We'll start with the engines, but there's so much more. So these are a pair of MAN i6 800 horsepower engines. They're going to give it about 20 knots flat out, depends of course on loading and sea condition and that sort of thing, but work on about 20 knots, you won't be far out. She'll cruise at anywhere between 8 and 15 knots, and at 8 knots you've got over 2,000 miles of range, which for a 60-foot boat that will do 20 knots, you know, it's not like a single engine displacement plotter. This has got speed, but it has got range as well at low speed. That's really, really good. Right, let's have a walk through and look at some stuff. We've got really big fuel filters and they're switchable. So you have a backup there. It's easy to just switch across from one to the other without having to sort of stop and change the filter and everything else. You can change to the other filter and then work on the first one if you want to. There is a fuel polishing system. You can see that over here, and that will take the fuel from one tank, run it through the system and back into the tank, or you can use that as a transfer to transfer from one tank to the other and clean it on its way. The fuel polishing is basically like a centrifuge that spins at really high speed, spins the fuel, peels the impurities out, and that's what cleans your fuel. We've got a little hose here for doing any cleaning, maintenance, that sort of thing. We've got the MAN boxes up at this end. We've got camera system in here. We've got fuel management. So this is how you can change from the port tank to the starboard tank. So basically, if you look at the port engine here, it's the easiest way to describe this actually. That's going port tank to port engine. But if you turn that way, so that goes around 90 degrees and that one goes around 90 degrees, and it's starboard tank to port engine. So for example, if you had contaminated fuel in your port tank, you could say, okay, I'll change that one across, run the port engine from the starboard tank, starboard engine from starboard tank, isolate the port tank altogether, run the fuel polishing, clean that one up. And again here, the gen set you can run from either the port or the starboard tank. So again, depending on how you're using that, it would depend, and fuel levels and so on, as to which one you might want to run that from. What else can I talk to you about here? like these rails they've put in the ceiling. So again, if you're down here when the boat's underway, you've got something to hold on to. There's a generator down here, but actually it's got massive lithium battery banks, so that doesn't necessarily need to get a lot of use. And things like those stabilizers will run via inverters. A lot of the gear will run via inverters from these big lithium batteries across here. We've got fire system in here. We've got air conditioning in here. They've actually air conditioned this area so that if you're somewhere really hot and then the engines are running, when you're out and running, it's not so bad because you've got fans changing the air. But then when you stop in harbour, you want to keep this area from getting too hot, you can air condition it. And talking of air conditioning, you can see they're racked out across here. The actual air conditioning plants are just there. Another interesting fact is this: it's a sea-torque system. So rather than just having the exposed shafts and then a water-cooled gland that it goes through to the outside, these have got a tube that goes all the way through from here right to where the prop is. So the actual exposed shaft is only a small amount at the end of that tube, and that tube is oil filled, and it means that it runs incredibly frictionless. Not totally, because nothing ever is, but it's so frictionless that you could stand when the boat's out the water with the engines in neutral and spin the props by hand, which you normally can't do because there's too much friction. It's a very expensive system, but it's a very, very good system. And in fact, you can see these pipes here are for the oil that comes from that reservoir just up there. What else? What else? What else can I show you? Another camera is up here. We've got more storage over on this side. And then we can come back again and back here. Now again, there are options to this depending on what you want to do. Oh, this one in here incidentally is taking us back into a technical area. Again, it's being used for a lot of storage because we're at a boat show at the minute, so it's keeping everything out of the cabins. But water maker, that's that fella down there, like so. There is a storage locker in there like that. There's a big solid door here that will close this whole thing off, but another door here, because what they've done on this one is they've put a little overflow cabin in here. Now this is really an owner-operator sort of size of boat, but if you did want an occasional skipper, if you want someone for your daughter's boyfriend, or somebody just snores a lot, well then this is an extra little space in the boat. So there's a ladder at the back there. You can come directly out from the deck down into here. You don't have to come through the engine room. And then on this one, there is actually, this closes off and you've got a bed in through there. What they are going to do on future boats apparently is scallop that out, so it makes this all a lot more open to this area. Move the sink over to the other side and that will work. But it's air conditioned, it's heated, you've got natural light and natural air and ventilation into here. Yes, of course, it's not an area if you've got full-time crew you're going to be using for that. It is an overflow space if you've got a skipper that's just helping you move the boat, for example, and you've got a lot of people on board and you just want somewhere extra, or just an unruly teenager, well then you have got another space in the boat. We've got loo over on this side. This is where the sink is going to go on future ones. And I think there's a shower in here as well somewhere. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. Pulls out of there. So yes, not a permanent space at all, but nonetheless a usable space. Got standing headroom here. It's a perfectly good space for a day or two for occasional use. That's what it's for. However, having said that, it's owner spec. If you prefer, you can have this just as a massive lazarette. So rack it out, use it for storage. That's what you could have instead. Just depends how you want to spec the boat. There we go. Let's come back out of that area there. There's so much to talk about with this one, and I'm really feeling or hoping that I've not missed out anything important, because it's just so much detail to it. It's a really, really lovely thing. Superb. No, I think we're done. I think so. I'll get home tonight and I'll think, I never showed them that, but there we go. I reckon we've covered a good 98% of it anyway. Right, let's come out of here, and I think we'll head up back to the bow. There we go, right up onto the foredeck. And that, my friends, is about the size of that. It is 25 to 7 in Palma on a beautiful evening. This is a really nice place to be and a really beautiful boat to be on. I just need to say massive thanks to Fleming Yachts Europe. They've organised that tour, and huge thanks to you guys for indulging me and watching it, because that's been a really interesting one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you on another one of these real soon. Take care. Bye bye.